Hello, welcome to the show. It's the Money and Market Show, and I'm Charles Board, your host. Now, what we're getting globally from reports that look at markets is that the Nairobi Stock Exchange is today among the worst performing globally. And several factors have been attributed to this. One of them is the perceived sovereign risk by a number of investors. One thing you need to note is that a number of bosses on the African continent are supported by what they call offshore investors. Now, a lot of these have been taking flight from the Nairobi Stock Exchange, partly because of this reason. Now, there are so many reasons why you should mind, first as a Ugandan, but of course, even our audiences in Kenya that are watching us. One of them is that about 70% of the retirement benefits or retirement schemes, you can call them pension schemes in Kenya, are actually invested on the listed companies at the Nairobi Stock Exchange. Now, coming back home in Uganda, NSSF has actually invested quite significantly on the bourse in Nairobi. So all these are factors that can explain why you should buy. Well, just to put this in terms of numbers, around 2015, the Nairobi Stock Exchange all-share index stood at 5,000. Today, as we're speaking, it is at 14,020 or 1,420. Now, that is something that has really ruffled feathers the bad way among those that make decisions, investment decisions for several companies across the region. But we'll be coming back to that story in our subsequent shows. It's Man and Markets once again. Welcome to the show. It's very tough to make it in business if you're not guided. And this stretches the importance of business development services for any successful entrepreneur. Now, in this segment, we pick the mind of one of the captains in business development services in this country to find out, one, what kind of counsel they're extending to entrepreneurs and how important this has been to the entrepreneurship journey of beneficiaries.
The first message I want to say that it doesn't matter which economy. The biggest spender in any economy is always government, because they receive money from all sources of taxpayers. And once they get that money will not be just kept somewhere by government. It will be used for infrastructure, for services like education, health, for security, and for anything else that can make the economy to flow. So yes, government is a major source of business in an economy. But here is the message. A strong economy is one where not everybody is buying from government. A strong economy is where almost every citizen is a supplier of a solution. In other words, even somebody who is earning a salary, he is selling a solution of services as a teacher or whoever to a owner of a school. And that school should continue to grow so that it opens more branches. But there are also other employees who are earning money and spending in the economy because they are working in different entities that government does not operate in. Government is only involved in big public services, in big infrastructure. But the other small solutions of selling groceries, of selling other services, they are within the ordinary populace. So if an economy does not have a vibrant private sector, that economy is going to have problems with their jobs. That economy is going to have a problem with tax volumes for government. And that economy, thirdly, will struggle to have a vibrant commercial sector. If all banks wake up in the morning and they are competing for government borrowing, that economy is a very weak and a narrow economy. So a great banking sector will also need a lot of borrowers outside the government sector. I want to first thank government by saying that it was a good gesture for government to say, how do we get cheap finance for small businesses to borrow from and recover? So the 100 billion that government put aside was to achieve exactly that. But as government is doing that, government is saying, we are giving you this 100 billion commercial banks. Please lend it such that whoever takes it will be able to use it well and bring it back. Meaning it is commercial borrowing. It is not a grant. It's not a donation. The moment you follow the route of commercial borrowing, all the parameters for assessment of a potential borrower must be fulfilled. What do I mean here? The line of credit may be very cheap The minister called it 10%. That's true. But the point is, do you have an enterprise for which a bank will say, when I lend you this money, you are going to use it, well, you will pay back this money, and then another person will borrow it. That is the principle of that money. The minister noted one thing. He said, out of the 100 billion, after 2 years, only 5 billion has been borrowed. What does that mean? In the first instance, the money is cheap. Number two, it's a recovery period. The businesses should take it away. If they are not taking it away, and yet they are borrowing from SACCOs at 48%, they are borrowing from other avenues in commercial bank at 25%, there is a problem about the borrowers themselves. All I'm now saying here is, as you provide a resource of that nature, can you fix all the other aspects that make borrowers loan ready? Because if they are not loan ready and you give them loans, that facility will be taken, it will not be repaid. So the conversation will shift from saying, all the money was taken in a week, but nobody has paid. Which of the two is better? Is it better to know that the money is not being taken and the reasons are these? Can we go and fix those reasons? Or should you now simply say, oh, you people, you need money, just come and take the money tomorrow, and then if you don't pay it, we let it go. So that is the balancing act the government must get right. That's why Enterprise Uganda says there is no way you front money to a business person when you have not prepared that business person to use that money well and repay it. The message of resilience, the message of striving is something integral in the DNA of an entrepreneur. Here is what I mean. There are only two laws an entrepreneur must fulfill all the time for their enterprise to continue to exist, for their enterprise to continue to thrive. The first one is sell a solution that meets the minimum expectations of a buyer. Now, that buyer will never accept anything to say, you know, today my food is not as good because I had a stomach problem. Today my food is a bit like this because there was a power issue. The customer simply says, this is my minimum expectation and I'm paying value for it. Deliver it. Number two, even when you fulfill the minimum expected needs of a buyer, you must also again be ready to compete, because whoever's bought from you today is being approached tomorrow by a competitor to take away that business to another destiny. So that means that at all times there is no resting for an entrepreneur. All the time you are pushing a big stone up the hill. The moment you lift your hands off from that stone, the stone will come for you. So it's a journey of resilience, it's a journey of sweat, it's a journey of continuous striving. Invest in business development service providers. Enterprise Uganda is one of them. But they are accountants, they are lawyers, they are people who assist in production of business plans in this country. Those resources should be available somewhere where the borrowers can be taken through the prudent ways of assessing their own investment requirements before they can proceed to the bank.